Hi, Clint Kuhns here with Anderson Business Advisors. And in this segment, I'm going to cover series limited liability companies. You know, I've received quite a few emails over the past week from individuals wanting to know whether or not a series LLC is appropriate for their particular type of real estate investing. And so what I thought I'd do is I'd put together a few videos on using a series LLC for your real estate investing. In this segment, we're going to discuss what is a series LLC. Okay, so the series LLC is basically a limited liability company, but it's designed to address a particular concern that many real estate investors have, and that is the cost of setting up multiple LLCs. Think on this. If you had several pieces of real estate and you wanted to protect them, you would most likely adopt the following scenario. You would create several LLCs here, and you'd put your properties in each of these LLCs. Now, with this type of plan, what we are doing is we're ensuring that if anything happens in any one of these boxes, we've minimized our risk exposure to the greatest extent as possible. So I could have a lawsuit right here. This property comes under assault, then the only risk of loss I have is what is associated to this LLC. And if it's one property, that's it. They can't take any more. So I could actually lose this limited liability company, but all these other ones remain intact and I have asset protection. Now here's the rub. The more LLCs you have, the more costs you're going to incur on an annual basis to maintain them. So if you were to set up an estate that has a $500 a year annual registration fee and you have 3 LLCs in my example right now, then that's going to cost you $1,500 a year to maintain this structure. And then on top of that, you have the initial setup costs as well, that for each LLC that you set up, if it was $500 and it's $1,500, well, actually it was $2,000, you lost one. It was $2,000 to put your plan in place. Now, if you think about it though, that's cheap insurance. To be able to limit your liability exposure to that one box and not risk everything else, I think most of you would say I would gladly pay $500 knowing that if the mother of all lawsuits came down because somebody was, I don't know, concerned about toxic mold and they make up a fictitious claim against me and the jury buys off on it, that they can't take everything that I have. Because in actually the example I just gave you, insurance would not cover you. However, some states have looked at this and thought to themselves, is there a better way? Can we make it so that the individual does not have to incur so many filing fees, and if their primary purpose is to limit their liability exposure, let's come up with a hybrid entity, hence the Series LLC. The Series LLC is designed to provide this level of asset protection without this cost. Okay, what they're looking to do is minimize that. So here's how a Series LLC works. With a Series LLC, what you're going to do is create a limited liability company, but when you file it with the Secretary of State, it will be filed as a Series LLC. Now, many times this will require that you custom draft your articles of organization. Some states do have pre-printed state-approved forms that you can use to form your LLC. Other ones you're going to have to draft custom articles. But a Series LLC, when it's incorporated, what you're doing is you're saying, I'm creating this company here, this LLC, so it's just like a regular LLC, but with one little addition. And that addition is the ability to create what people will call cells or series. Now, these additional cells or series, they're designed to be treated as independent entities, that is, separate units from this parent company. So the first one we'll call is the parent. All right, this one gets set up first, and you would set it up possibly where you were the manager here. So this is you as the manager, and then you're down here as the member. Okay. Now, after that company is set up, just like a traditional LLC would be set up, then when it's time to acquire additional real estate, and going back to my example again, we're going to buy 4 properties. What you will do is create these cells. So this would be Series 1. and it would own this property right here. Then when you buy your second property, you would create series number 2 right here, and it would own this property. And as you'd see, we come down here with number 3, just like that. And then of course we'd throw number 4 on there as well. And we've have our properties held accordingly. Now, each of those documents that we're talking about here, these separate series, what's unique about the Series LLC is that when you created that parent, you had a full-blown operating agreement, okay? So it's 80 pages long, and inside of the operating agreement, it specifically authorizes you to create these additional series off of this operating agreement. Then when it's time to create your series, like we've done here, you don't have to file anything with the Secretary of State. Well, not in all states. In Illinois you would, but I'll get into that in just a moment. In order to create these separate series, what you'll typically do is open or prepare a 2-page agreement. And in that agreement, what it states is the name of the series, who's going to manage it, because you can have different managers with these series. In fact, you can have different members as well. Such as if series number 3, when I'm preparing that 2-page agreement, what I would list in there, possibly if I was using it was a joint venture, maybe I had some gap funds coming in from someone, I might state on this one that 50% is owned by the parent, LLC, that's 50%, and the other 50% here is owned by Jim, all right? So we're 50-50 members. So you can actually have different members in these individual series that you're creating. But that operating agreement, or that 2-page agreement that I'm referring to that gets created every time you want to create a new cell, those are internal documents. No one's going to know about them until you decide to disclose that information to third parties. So there's no additional costs here. So that is an advantage that people find attractive with the series, is that when you set it up, you don't have to make another state filing, except in Illinois, to create these series. They can hold property, they can conduct business, and then should anything happen with an individual series, like say number 4 has the mold problem, then this is the only thing that is at risk. Everything else here is protected, and the only series you risk is that one, number 4. Now, these 2-page operating agreements, what they actually do, the way this works is that they incorporate this 80-page agreement by reference. So they say, all right, for purposes of running this agreement, refer back to the parent LLC operating agreement, and that's going to govern the control and the operation of this individual series. So there's quite a bit of legalese involved in this to make these work, but the premise is that you can have separate distinct units that will protect your assets without having to make independent filings and pay annual renewals. So in this particular case here, if I had what you see here is you had the parent and 3 individual series, then at most I'm going to have to file one $500 fee if that was the annual renewal, even though I've created essentially 4 companies. There's only one annual fee that gets filed. Now, if you're wondering, what did I do with series 1 and 2 when I created those? Who were the members? Oftentimes what we will do is have series 1, if it's just you and they're your investments, the member is going to be the parent. Series 2, of course, the member is going to be the parent. The manager of these series, I'll oftentimes create a separate management company up here to serve as the manager of all the independent series. That could be a corporation or it could be another limited liability company. And you watch one of the further videos where I talk about this further, I'll get into some of the drawbacks with series LLCs, and more particularly, I'll also discuss in the second segment, when you're funding them with real estate, how you want to make sure that you operate these particular entities to ensure that it's not going to be disregarded by a state court and you'll lose your protection. So the Series LLC it's not a new tool, it's been around for a while. It's only available in a handful of states. If you look down in the notes below the video, you'll see I've listed out all the states that have actually recognized a Series LLC. And what I would tell you is that only set up this structure and use this particular structure in those states that have formally recognized it. Do not attempt to use it outside of the states. There have been individuals who have attempted this in the past and they've run into roadblocks. In fact, they found they didn't get the protection the series offered because other states did not recognize it. So if you wanted to say invest in Texas and you wanted to use this tool, then this would be available to you because Texas recognizes the Series LLC. But be sure to watch the other two videos in this series on the Series LLC, kind of a play on words there, to see if it's truly appropriate and will work for your particular type of investing. My name is Clint Kuhns with Anderson Business Advisors, wishing you the very best when it comes to investing in real estate and protecting your assets.